What's up, everybody? It's CMP with Craftmaster Productions and Studio1Tutorials.com. The sounds that you are hearing in the instrumental I was just playing is from the new Spitfire library, Colours, curated by Trinz, UK drill scene producer. And this is awesome. I mean, you guys know that I've been a huge fan of labs, put you guys on to labs that hadn't seen it before, used it in, so many of my samples, used it in a bunch of, that was like a big part of the Spicy Sundays loops, that we did 50 volumes of that. Just super excited about Spitfire sounds, right? And I always wanted a product. I always wanted them to lean into like the urban genres because we use the stuff so much. And it looks like they finally did with this product. This is one of their, their $29 collections where if you've seen the labs interface, and I'm going to go into the DAW and show it to you. But I mean, this is like, look, when you look at what's included, all the different presets, four different drum kits, 4 different drum loop kits, stuff that's sampled, stuff that comes from synthesizers, and just that this is coming like directly from the street. This isn't like some cheesy sound designer that's sitting in there with nothing to do and they're like, hey, we want to make a quick cash grab off a drill. This is not what this is, right? This is a new division of Spitfire Audio, QMF, and I'm excited to see more stuff from them. So let's jump into Studio One and see exactly what we're using. We have this familiar interface. If you have any of the standalone Spitfire VSTs, this is very familiar to you. Each one of the different presets, they have a different array of settings, effects, and either ADSR stuff that you can go in here and affect, just by clicking on one and then moving the big wheel, right? And that's like one of the best things about these products, right, is because they sound so good, they're sampled so well, they work so great in context, but they are super easy to use and very affordable. Again, $29. Like, so the sounds in here, the first one that I use, this is one of their keys patches. And then I went ahead and stacked it with another one. This is the broken electric piano. And what I like about their keys selection is, even though it's not a VST that has 4,000 keyboards in it, each different preset is unique and individual to itself, but also they stack together well, right? And that's important because, I mean, if you don't know this, when you stack instruments together in the same octave, you get a more powerful, fuller sound, right? So it's nice to have, a product that zeroes in on a genre, goes in, curates all, the best sounds to create that genre. And then not only that, they all work together, right? So it's not just something where, you can get tired of using these sounds, like they're bread and butter sounds. And then for the melody, I added in this Intel preset. And just there, you see how easy it was to add a little bit of reverb. Now, when I seen that this was a drill product and that they had drums associated with it, I was skeptical. I was like, man, nobody ever gets the drill drums right. I went to a kit and this is the first sound that I found. And that had me right away because, the way that you start your drill track with your snare roll cadence and everything was it's a very specific type of snare. It's a thin snare. It It sounds like there's a shaker stacked on top of it. It's a very, very, very specific characteristic. It is not a random snare out of a BWB or an Oz kit. You can't just find this in random Reddit kits on r dot drum kits, right? And stuff like this is what's important when you get these curated packs, is just, people creating them that know the exact sounds that we need. And the reason why I say that is, when you look at the pattern that I made, right, you'll notice that I went from this key and then just went up to this one, right? So you go from this pattern to this one. Now, drill music is sort of like in the vein of like reggaeton. It doesn't like have, you don't do a lot with your with your harmonies and your melodies. You kind of just make one, and then you switch up your percussion, and you switch up your bass, obviously, but you do a lot of switching in the percussion to get those 6, 7, 8 patterns that you need to make a modern like urban hip hop drill type of track interesting, right? So you switch that snare up, you switch that hi-hat up, and inside of these kits, what you're going to notice more than anything, if this is how you produce, is that each one of these kits has the snare and the 2 hi-hat switches. Like, they have the samples that match to make it so that you don't have to venture outside of the different drum kit presets in order to get that effect, right? So when you hear going from one pattern to another, and that is important because these hi-hats and these snare rolls, they handle so much of the high frequency content. A lot of the melodic elements in drill is either half timed or low pass filtered. So the frequencies that those hi-hats stay in, they do so much of the pacing and the movement, right? So when you change those samples, it is an energy shift, that is worthy of its own pattern, right? So making that easy for me, making that so I don't have to go and go through like a whole bunch of crazy kits to mix and match and find the right drums, like it's invaluable, right? Yeah, you gotta love that. So all in all, this is an extremely usable, well curated kit that I'm excited about. The other sound that I wound up using that I wanted you guys to hear was this bass sound, and it comes from this section of the pack that's called loops, right? So when you look at the actual browser here, you've got a drum section, you've got a section which they call keys, which this is all like the individual presets, and then you have what's called loops, and each one of them is an individual composition where they've included the stems, right? So I went ahead and I used the psychological one, right? And if you listen to it, this is the whole loop put together. And then in each different octave, you've got the different stems. So here's the bass and the melodies. And I've got the distortion effect on. So these are all, free to use as how you see fit. I mean, you could sample them in, resample them, use them in a one shot, play your own melody inside. Like, that's the thing, that there's sounds within sounds within sounds inside of this. So all I did was I just held down the C note here and used the bass line. And all of these are tempo synced. So, you can have this at any tempo, create a different pacing. You don't have to worry about it. So that's awesome. On top of that, these loops, these loop packs that are included within it, they're not cheat codes. They're not gonna make the beat for you. You're not gonna sell a bajillion beats with all these loops or anything like that. Used correctly, like the way that I'm using it, is they can inspire creativity. Like once I had made the original section, I was kind of running out of gas, and I knew that, like, my thing is patterns, right? I want to do like at least 7 original patterns before I repeat one when I make a track, right? So I was on my fourth pattern here, and I was running out of gas, and I was like, you know what? Let me try one of these loops, and it was great because it completely changed the bass line. And then I was able to say, you know what would sound great over this is a vocal. So I was able to go into Arcade, get a vocal, and now I have 1 original pattern, 2 original patterns, 3 original patterns, 4 original patterns, 5 original patterns before I even, think about repeating another pattern, right? And that is how you can use a product like this, to not, make the song for you, but it's almost like having another producer in the room to collab with. Like, hey, bro, try this idea. You might be able to work with this. So, one other thing before I go, and I don't know. I don't know if the guys over at QMF knows how dope this is, but in curating all these sounds for the genre, they've also provided sample makers with just like the perfect palette for making vintage samples, right? So, you go in here and you've got this amazing multi-sampled kalimba, and like that, that'll take you into like Koopa Nami world real quick. Throw some effects on it. It's great to have just like a nice dry sounding kalimba. These strings, different plucks. I mean, it's just, you hear there's a vibe here, and you can really get to it. I mean, even if I wanted to like apply like R&B chords and play sevenths with it, you could take these kind of creepy sounds and and brighten them up like that, and then you'd be opened up to a completely different vibe. And again, that's what's awesome about this. So definitely expect to see this splash screen and this VST pop up in my future vintage sample streams. I definitely intend to use it there, but I just wanted to put you guys onto this plugin because it's dope. I'm excited about it, and I want you guys to try it out. So this is CMP with Craftmaster Productions, studio1tutorials.com/sample class, where we will teach you how to make vintage samples, how to build your own website, and how to make back your investment. You guys keep it simple, but do not be basic, and we will see you on the next one.